I beg you.
Welcome to Colored Roses and Thorns. So are you wondering what spirituality is? Now, we will speak about the simple definition of spirituality as in the dictionary as you would Google it. It's the quality of being concerned more with human spirit and soul than you are, as opposed to material and physical things. Now, I guess you're wondering, what's African spirituality? Well, what I will speak about today, coming from Polinius Adazor, an essence of African traditional religion. Now, that's a bit confusing to me because spirituality is not religion. Spirituality is about the human spirit, which means it goes across the globe to everyone. Religion is a little bit different because it separates people into different sectors. So I care not to call it religion, but a bringing together of the spirit. One scholar who has written extensively on African traditional religion is John Miti, that's Mbiti, a Kenyan who many considered the dean of reliving African theology. An important preoccupation that he had has been to show that knowledge of God and the worship of God had been staples of African life from the earliest times. Now, never get it wrong. Spirituality is a oneness with God, a direct connection to the Most High. So if you ever hear anyone saying that spirituality is something evil and dark, that is not the African spirituality that I speak about, because the African that I speak about in spirituality is a direct connection and oneness with God.
When we dey meet Mama.
Yes. In Dr. Niti, he goes on, he shows that the sense of divine was not something introduced to Africa, but by missionaries or by anyone else. That the knowledge of God in African religion was not much different from the idea of God that Christian missionaries preached in Africa, and the more specifically to our purpose here. That belief in God, a gender, a moral response that for centuries before Christianity arrived in Africa. It spoke more of moral life and interaction on the continent among its people. There was a close tie. There was no separation. There was just God. According to Mbiti, Africans came to believe in God by reflecting on their experiences through observation of the created universe, specifically by reflecting on the wonder and magnitude of the universe. They came to the conclusion that God must exist. Such wonderful things were happening in the universe and around them in nature that God must exist. They posited the existence of God to explain that there was a universe rooted in the belief in God as the creator. Africans believed in various dimensions of created universe, rooted in the belief in God as the creator. Africans believed in various dimensions in earth, whereas commonly God is believed. Hold on. I am reading from notes today, so pardon me. Okay. Africans came to believe in God by reflecting on their experience and through observation of the created universe, specifically by reflecting on the wonder and the magnitude of the universe. They came to the conclusion that God has to exist. They posited the existence of God to explain the existence and sustenance of the universe. Rooted in the belief in God is the creator. Africans believed in various dimensions of created universe, such as visible and the invisible, the invisible and the visible. That is the spiritual realm, heavenly, skyward, and earthly. And in some ethnic groups, there is a belief that there is an underworld. Commonly, God is believed to dwell in the skies, but I think God is everywhere. So sometimes it becomes something personal. It's according to your experiences. If you have abilities, those abilities may form different beliefs based on experience. God is believed to be everywhere or in the skies. In most cases, the earth is conceived as a living thing, a goddess, Mother Earth. You have heard people say Mother Earth, Mother Nature. According to MBD, the earth is symbolically viewed as a mother of the universe, while the heaven is seen kind of like as the male counterpart. While the universe has a beginning, many Africans believe that it does not end, either spaciously or temporarily. I'm going to talk about my view of spirituality. Spirituality is an inner knowing, an inner oneness with God. And when you have that inner knowing and that inner connection with the source, some say source, some say most high. But whenever you have that spiritual connection, I believe that we are led by spirit guides. Some people call them spiritual angels, ancestors. I believe my spirit guides and my ancestors guide me through this life, that the Most High put them here from the time I was born to help me navigate through this life. And if you tune into the spirit guides and your ancestors, because when we pass away It's that our bodies break down, but our souls are still alive and they live on and on and on for eternity. That is what is meant by eternal life, that we do not die. Our bodies may die, but our souls live on and on forever. So, you ever heard people say, we don't know what they're doing, but they always know what we're doing? It's because those that have passed over are able to see us, and they're much better able to assist us in the spirit than they were able to in the physical. This is a spiritual world, not just physical that you know it and see with your eyes, but it is also a spiritual world. And all you have to do is ask your spirit guides to help you, and they will help you. Your ancestors will help you. They want more than anything to assist you. But they're not just going to just jump in there and help you. They don't want to scare you. They want your permission to step in and to help lead you and to guide you. So I think I mentioned once that never, ever believe that you are alone. You are never alone. In those dark times when you're going through something rough, speak to the Most High, or speak to the guide that has been assigned to you. Speak to your ancestors. You can speak to your grandmother if your grandmother has passed over, if a relative has passed over that you had a good relationship with, and even if you didn't, now they are better able to help you. And yes, they do hear you in their way, not physically like we hear, but they have a knowing of what you're asking them. So spirituality is somewhat of a personal thing, and it's a large range of things. And just know, when you become spiritually awakened, it's not all hunky-dory, because even in some of the great books, it speaks about either the veil being removed from your eyes or the scales dropping from your eyes. That is an awakening. Whereas now you see things very, very clearly. All of the illusions that you've ever had before, or fake scenarios that you have had in your head, they're all gone. Now you can see things as they really are. You can see truth as it is, and as it has meant to be truth. You can feel, sometimes you can feel energy. Like, have you ever walked in a room and you just felt like tension, and you've heard people say, I can just cut it with a knife? That's energy that you feel. We all emanate energy. Some of us emanate positive energy. Some of us emanate dark energy or negative energy. But just know, spirituality is something that has to do directly with your spirit, your inner spirit, your connection, direct connection with the source. There is no right or wrong way to connect to your spirit. People say, well, you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do this and you got to do that. Now you're starting to do religion and ritual. There is, like, if you are doing rituals, yes, you have to do those things a certain way in order to get results. But as far as spirituality and connecting with the higher source, you don't have to put on this and you don't have to put on that and you don't have to do this or that in order to connect with the source. Just call on the source. Just call on your spirit guides. Sometimes we hear our spirit guides. They will talk to us. They will communicate with us through numbers. In nature, you might see an animal, like I had what I call a spirit animal, a dove. Every time I would travel, a dove would fly in front of my car. I don't know if it was for protection or just to let me know that my spirit guides were there with me and protecting me. Now I believe that my spirit guide is now a hawk, because I have seen a hawk in the backyard and they are huge. I'm like, this is very unusual. There is a hawk standing beyond my patio, and it was huge. And I would have dreams of hawks. So I'm now thinking that my spirit animal is now a hawk. For many, many years, it was a dove. And the spirit can get into any kind of animal. You know, the Most High can use anything to lead you or to guide you. For a while, cats would, follow me. They would come to my door. They were my protectors. When my younger son was little, his guys were dogs, his dogs, actually. And one day, we looked around because our house was always busy. We always had kids around it. And I didn't see my younger son. And I was like, hey, have y'all seen? No one had seen him. And the dog was like barking and trying to break off the chain. I said, something's wrong. And the dog broke the chain and he hauled up the street. And some instinctively told me to run behind the dog. So I was running, trying to keep up with the dog. We got to the corner, looked down. I saw my baby on his little bicycle, and there was a van. And there was a hand with a white arm reaching for my child, about to snatch him into a van. And the dog ran, jumped up, and grabbed hold to the person's arm, and the van took off. So, my son's protectors, his guides, his spirit animals have always been dogs. And that's not the first time. One of his dogs actually saved my life. I was hanging out clothes. I used to love to hang my clothes in the backyard on a clothesline. And the dog, he was just barking. And I was like, would you just stop it? And he kept, he was persistent. I was like, oh, what is wrong with this dog? And, some say, okay, just look around, see what's going on. I looked, it was a huge, what kind of snake was that?
Red snake.
It was a huge snake. I don't know. All I know, the head was about this big. It was huge, and it was about this big around, and it was moving very slowly towards me. And I screamed, and for some reason, my dad and mom was here in Georgia. Huh? It was. Oh, okay. They were coming actually up to have Thanksgiving because they do celebrate Thanksgiving. And my dad ran out, my then husband, when I was married, he ran out. He started throwing bricks at the snake. My daddy had some kind of, had a shovel, and he was able to aim and chop the head of the snake off. And later on that night, I didn't know that my then husband had told my son to pick the snake up and throw him in the woods. My child that night told me later he was sick. He was throwing up. I mean, he was just throwing up. He was nauseous. He was sick, and he was just sleeping. I didn't really know what was going on. And it wasn't until much later, tell me this is the Most High. The spirits took care of my child, because I did not know that he had picked the snake up and venom had actually gotten on his hand and seeped through his skin. And today, this very day, I believe he's immune to snake bites. Didn't you get bitten again after that?
Yeah.
He got bitten by a snake after that, and there was no effect at all. I mean, none at all. This is my child that has a special connection with animals. If a dog is being violent or vicious, all he has to do is look at the dog and it will drop his head, whimper, roll over, and then pee on itself. And this is not only for dogs. He has some kind of ability with all animals. And when he and my daughter were very small, not that small, they had to be about 8 when they could actually see spirits. Whereas we lived in a home and they would see this little girl, and this was at separate times. They would tell me this, and he would describe it, I mean, in detail. I said, I'm going to see it. And then my daughter, and I would get them in separate rooms to ask what they saw, how the little girl looked, and they both had the same description. And then one night, he told me he was sitting in bed, and the little girl was standing at the head of the bed. She had on a white dress, and she had 2 black, I guess, braids. And she was standing at the edge of the bed. And he sat up and he woke his sister up. And when she woke up, she could see her too. But he was also seeing a man in a military, kind of like a military uniform, that would come to the bathroom door. And this is when we lived out in the woods somewhere in a place called Lizella. So we started asking the neighbors if they knew about an elderly man or a little girl that lived in that house. And they said, sure enough, there was a man there that had been in the military. And he was killed in, right up at the corner, there's like a little store and a little V. And when he was coming out, he didn't see the vehicle come, and it hit in the driver's side and it instantly killed him. Well, obviously, he didn't know that he was dead because he was still in the house. And we never did get the story about what happened to the little girl, because before moving into the house, we did see like parts of toy bikes or things over in the woods. But no one I don't think mention anything about a child being there, but they did know about the military soldier or whoever had lived in the house. But things like that, that's all part of spirituality. We live in a spiritual world, a spiritual universe. But to get back to what I was speaking about, I think I put African spirituality. Now, the reason I put African spirituality because that is where everything started. Before Christianity actually came 400 years after the supposed Christ had ascended. So Christ knew nothing about the religion of Christianity. That came much later. But the beginning of our connection with God has always, as far back as you can go, has started with spirituality. It was never a religion, it was just spiritual, straight connection with the spirit, because there was no separation, because we ourselves are spirits and flesh. We have to be in these vessels in order to survive on earth, but our spirits are within, our souls are within. So there's like really no difference between the spiritual without a body, except we're in a body and they're not. But I may have gotten a little bit off the spirituality thing. But as I evolve more and more, so I've pretty much been in touch with my spiritual side since I was a little girl. You know, I was given special gifts. Some of my children had special gifts. And if you're never told that they're wrong, you know, and they weren't wrong, because we were born with it. Every one of us has special gifts. It's just that whether you were in an environment that told you, oh, that's bad, or if you were in an environment that was supportive, you understand? That determined whether or not your gifts developed or not. But this is enough about spirituality for today. I hope you've learned something, and please come back to visit me, because as I go through my spiritual journey, which I've been guided by my spirit guides to really concentrate and develop now that I'm an adult, and I really no, I know, I'm not going to say I think, I know that it's time for me to really get serious about this journey. Because I'm telling you, my spirit guides, my ancestors, wake me up. They will wake me up or come in a dream, send me dreams, and I will get these dreams over and over and over until I pay attention and until I understand what they need me to do. So please stop by at Colored Roses Thorns, and thank you so much for stopping in. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to make them below. I don't have the comments blocked right now. So make a comment, and thank you so much for stopping by, and learn something every day about spirituality. Google it, or if you have special gifts, and you're not the type to really can figure it out, there are people out there that can help you. They do divination, or sometimes when I need help interpreting things that my spirit guides have to say, I do use my cartomancy, my cards, to have them speak through them. I also use runes. Those are about the two things I've always used, and I also have what you call the black 8 ball. but I only use that when I really need a quick answer. But if I need lots of details, I will use my cards. I will use my runes, or sometimes I will see sequences and numbers repeatedly until I find out what it means. And thank you for stopping by, and see y'all next time.